Have you ever wondered why, even when you know what's right, you still make the wrong choice? Why do smart people destroy their own future with decisions they regret later? It's not bad luck. It's not lack of intelligence. It's something much deeper. In this speech, Andrew Tate breaks down the brutal truth about why we keep making bad decisions and how you can finally break free. Watch till the end, because this might be the turning point of your life. Most people think bad decisions happen because they are not smart enough, but that is not the truth. The reality is that intelligence has very little to do with decision making. You can have the highest IQ in the room and still destroy your own life with choices that seem insane in hindsight. The real reason people make bad decisions is because they are emotional. They allow how they feel in the moment to override logic, strategy, and discipline. And when emotions take control, logic gets buried, and you start operating in survival mode instead of dominance mode. How many times have you seen someone who is doing well? Good job, healthy lifestyle, money coming in. And then they throw it all away for a night of temporary excitement. They know it's a bad decision. They know it will cost them. But in that moment, their emotions speak louder than their rational brain. They want to feel something now, and they forget what it costs tomorrow. That's not stupidity. That's weakness to emotion. Humans are not designed to make perfect decisions under pressure. We evolved in a world of instant reactions: fight or flight, eat or starve, run or freeze. Our brains are wired for short-term survival, not long-term empire building. That's why most people mess up. They cannot silence the emotional brain long enough to think about the bigger picture. They get angry and say something they regret. They feel lonely and settle for toxic relationships. They feel impatient and throw away a plan that could have changed their life. Every mistake is born from letting emotions run the show. The truth is, emotion is the enemy of success when it controls you. Fear stops people from starting businesses. Pride makes them reject advice. Envy makes them chase the wrong goals. And comfort makes them lazy. These feelings whisper lies, convincing you that the easiest choice is the right one. But the easiest choice is almost always the worst one. You want to eat the junk food because it comforts you now, but it destroys your body later. You want to skip the workout because you feel tired, but it makes you weaker tomorrow. You want to spend the money today because it feels rewarding, but it kills your wealth in the future. Every single time, emotion wins in the short term and ruins the long term. The problem is not that people don't know what's right. Deep down, everybody knows. You know eating clean is better than junk. You know saving is better than wasting. You know discipline is better than laziness. But people still make the wrong move because they confuse how they feel with what is real. They let temporary emotions dictate permanent outcomes. And when you live like that, your life becomes nothing more than a chain of emotional reactions. If you want to stop making bad decisions, you have to detach. You have to learn to separate what you feel from what you must do. Discipline is nothing more than the ability to act regardless of how you feel. If you are tired, you work anyway. If you are angry, you think before speaking. If you are tempted, you remember the cost. The people who succeed in life are not the ones who feel the best emotions. They are the ones who refuse to let emotions control them. Every empire is built by logic, patience, and strategy, not by impulses. The man who can feel fear but move forward anyway is powerful. The man who can feel anger but stay silent is dangerous. The man who can feel temptation but still say no is rare. That's why the winners of life look different. They make decisions based on outcomes, not emotions. And while the average person is still crying, arguing, or chasing temporary pleasure, the disciplined man is building his future. So when you look back at your life and wonder why certain things went wrong, don't blame bad luck or lack of intelligence. The real enemy has always been emotion. Every time you made a choice out of anger, fear, or comfort, you paid the price. If you want to win, you must train yourself to pause, breathe, and act with clarity. The day you stop being a slave to your emotions is the day you stop making bad decisions. The biggest trap in life is short-term pleasure. It's a verger. Every bad decision you've ever made, if you really analyze it, came from choosing comfort in the moment instead of power in the future. It always feels harmless at first. You think skipping one workout doesn't matter. You think spending a little money on something useless won't affect you. You think one night wasted on distraction doesn't change anything. But all those small moments of pleasure pile up. And over time, they shape your entire destiny. The reason this trap is so dangerous is because it feels good when you step into it. Human beings are wired to chase dopamine, to chase the instant reward. It's biology. Back when survival depended on finding food, your brain rewarded you instantly for eating. Back when danger was everywhere, your brain gave you a rush when you found safety. But in the modern world, that same system works against you. Now, your brain gets dopamine from scrolling on your phone, eating sugar, drinking, watching garbage online. Your biology is hijacked. You're chasing rewards that do nothing for your future. And every time you give in, you trade strength for weakness. Short-term pleasure is the assassin of greatness. No empire was ever built on comfort. No athlete became the best by skipping practice. No entrepreneur became rich by sleeping in. Yet the average person chooses comfort over growth every single day. Why? Because the pain of discipline feels harder than the rush of pleasure. Waking up early hurts. Lifting heavy weights hurts. Saving money hurts. Saying no to distractions hurts. But all that pain compounds into power, while all the pleasure compounds into regret. The cruel irony is that the path of pain today leads to pleasure tomorrow, and the path of pleasure today leads to pain tomorrow. Most people can't see that far ahead, so they stay stuck. Look at anyone who is broke, unhealthy, or lost. They didn't arrive there because of one catastrophic choice. They arrived there because of 1,000 tiny decisions where they chose pleasure. They ate for comfort instead of discipline. They spent money for validation instead of security. They wasted hours for entertainment instead of building skills. And then one day, they wake up wondering how their life got so small. It's not bad luck. It's not fate. It's death by comfort. The dangerous thing about short-term pleasure is that it feels harmless because the consequences are delayed. You don't get fat after one burger. You don't go broke after one night out. You don't ruin your potential after one wasted day. But stack those days, stack those burgers, stack those wasted dollars, and you create a future that traps you. Most people live. They are trading their future piece by piece for the illusion of pleasure today. If you want to stop making bad decisions, you have to reverse your instincts. You have to learn to crave the pain that builds you and reject the comfort that destroys you. Discipline should become your drug. Sacrifice should become your addiction. Instead of chasing the dopamine of a cheap distraction, you chase the dopamine of progress. Every rep in the gym, every dollar saved, every hour invested, every temptation resisted. That is the real pleasure because it pays you back later with freedom, power, and control. The truth is, short-term pleasure makes you a slave. You become addicted to small rewards, and you start living like a child, always chasing the next sweet, the next comfort, the next distraction. Discipline makes you a master. You suffer now so that later you live on your own terms. Most people never understand this because they are too busy numbing themselves with temporary highs. But if you want to win, you have to be different. You have to embrace the discomfort that others run from. Every bad decision comes from choosing comfort now over power later. Every good decision comes from choosing power later over comfort now. That is the difference between the man who wins and the man who loses. One thinks about how he feels. The other thinks about what he wants. One lives for today. The other builds for tomorrow. The world belongs to the man who can delay gratification because he will have everything the emotional, comfort-chasing man gave up. Weak environments create weak choices. People don't understand how much their surroundings shape their destiny. You can be disciplined, motivated, even intelligent. But if you live in the wrong environment, it will slowly strip all of that away. Your environment feeds your habits. Your habits feed your decisions, and your decisions feed your future. If you surround yourself with losers, distractions, and cheap dopamine, you will inevitably make the same bad decisions they make. You don't even realize it because it happens silently. It creeps into your lifestyle until one day you are exactly like the people around you. Think about it. If you're around people who smoke, drink, and waste time, you're going to do it too. Maybe, not at first, maybe you resist for a while, but eventually it becomes normal. If you're in a house where everyone argues and complains, you start to argue and complain. If you're in a friend circle where no one talks about money, health, or discipline, you stop thinking about those things too. Human beings mirror their environment. No matter how much you think you're different, you become what you're exposed to daily. That's why your environment is either building you or destroying you. The truth is, most people sabotage themselves by staying in weak environments. They hang around with friends who have no ambition. They consume content that numbs their brain instead of sharpening it. They live in places filled with negativity, laziness, and excuses. Then they wonder why they keep making poor choices. It's not just willpower. Willpower is not enough when everything around you pushes you down. You can't stay strong forever if your environment is weak, because eventually the environment wins. This is why people who move to stronger environments change their lives almost instantly. You put yourself in a gym surrounded by men pushing themselves, and suddenly you train harder. You put yourself in a business circle where money is discussed, and suddenly you think bigger. You put yourself around disciplined people, and suddenly laziness feels disgusting. The power of environment is that it doesn't just influence you, it rewires you. It makes good decisions feel natural and bad decisions feel foreign. That's why winners are obsessed with controlling their environment. They know it decides their future. Weak environments also breed weak standards. If everyone around you accepts mediocrity, you start to believe it's normal. If everyone around you wastes time on video games and gossip, you feel no urgency to build anything. If everyone is broke, you start to think money doesn't matter. That's how average people justify bad decisions, because in their environment, those decisions are acceptable. But when you step into a stronger environment, the standards rise. Suddenly, your excuses don't make sense. Your comfort doesn't look cool, and your laziness becomes embarrassing. That pressure forces you to level up or get left behind. If you want to stop making bad decisions, you must upgrade your environment. You need to cut out the toxic people who drain you, avoid the distractions that weaken you, and place yourself where winning is the expectation, not the exception. Not the exception. It's not about being rude or arrogant. It's about survival. You cannot afford to let a weak environment destroy your discipline, because once it does, every choice you make will follow that weakness. Look at the people who have achieved greatness. They built fortresses around themselves. They filtered their inputs, chose their circles wisely, and created conditions where strength was inevitable. They didn't rely on raw willpower alone. They built environments that forced them to be strong. Meanwhile, the average person keeps trying to win while living in environments designed for failure. That's why they never escape. Weak environments create weak choices, but strong environments create strong men. If you're constantly surrounded by distraction, negativity, and weakness, don't be surprised when your life reflects that. But if you're willing to cut off what drags you down and step into places that demand more from you, your decisions will sharpen, your standards will rise, and your future will change. Your environment is either your greatest weapon or your silent killer. And the sooner you understand that, the sooner you stop making bad decisions. You sit there and wonder why your life is not where you want it to be. You blame luck. You blame circumstances. You blame the system. But deep down, you know the truth. The truth is that you've been making decisions based on weakness, not strength. Every time you chose emotions over logic, every time you chose short-term pleasure over long-term power, every time you let your environment dictate your standard, you signed a contract with failure. And failure kept its promise. Listen to me carefully, your excuses. Life doesn't care if you were tired, if you were emotional, if you felt pressured by your friends, or if you just wanted to feel good for a moment. Life rewards the disciplined and punishes the weak. That's the reality. And if you don't like it, good, because it means you're finally ready to change. You say, but I don't feel motivated. Who cares about motivation? Motivation is for children. A man doesn't wait to feel ready. He acts regardless. A man doesn't say, I'll do it tomorrow. He does it today because tomorrow is not guaranteed. You don't need motivation. You don't need motivation. You need standards. You need rules that you live by no matter how you feel. That's what separates the strong from the weak. You say, but it's hard. That of course it's hard. Do you think greatness was ever supposed to be easy? Do you think champions wake up every day excited, smiling, and dancing into their work? No. They wake up tired, stressed, sometimes broken, but they move anyway. And because they move when others quit, they win. Hard is the point. Pain is the filter that separates the average from the elite. If it wasn't hard, everyone would do it, and nothing would be worth having. You say, but what if I fail? You're already failing if you're doing nothing. Failure is progress. Failure means you tried. Failure means you stepped into the arena while everyone else stayed in the stands. You fail forward. You fail upward. You fail your way into success. The man who fears failure is the man who guarantees mediocrity. The man who embraces failure is the man who builds empires. You say, but my friends won't understand. Your friends, if they don't push you higher, they're not friends, they're anchors. If they laugh at your discipline, they're clowns. If they mock your ambition, they're cowards. Surround yourself with warriors and you'll fight like one. Surround yourself with losers and you'll die like one. You don't owe your friends your potential. You owe yourself your future. So what's the solution? The solution is to make a choice right now in this very moment. Not tomorrow, not next week, not when you feel ready. And now you decide you're done being ruled by emotions. You decide you're done being a slave to pleasure. You decide you're done living in weak environments. You decide that from this day forward, you will be the kind of person who makes decisions that build power, not destroy it. And don't get it twisted, this isn't about perfection. You will still feel fear. You will still feel temptation. You will still feel the pull of weakness. But the difference is that you will no longer obey it. You will act in spite of it. That is strength. That is what it means to live as a man who refuses to lose. You want freedom? Earn it. You want respect? Demand it from yourself first. You want wealth, power, legacy? Then stop trading your future for cheap dopamine. Stop letting your emotions run the show. Stop living like a victim of your environment. Stand up and take control. Discipline is the only path. Sacrifice is the only currency. And consistency is the only weapon that never misses. Years from now, you will look back on this moment. You will remember the day you finally drew a line in the sand and said, enough. No more weakness. No more bad decisions. No more bad decisions. No more living like everyone else. And on that day, you will realize this was the turning point. This was the day you became the kind of person who doesn't just dream about winning, but actually wins. So make the decision. Make it right now. Because every second you hesitate, weakness grows stronger, and every second you act, strength grows inside you. Life is waiting. Your future is waiting. Victory is waiting. But it will not come to you. You must take it. You must fight for it. And if you fight with discipline, with vision, with unbreakable standards, there is nothing in this world that can stop you.